Welcome to my AutoCAD tutorial for beginners video series. This series will closely follow the tutorials and information found in a first-year engineering course. I'll be covering orthographic projections, pictorial drawings, dimensioning, section views, auxiliary views, threads and fasteners, and assembly drawings. This is lesson 0, where I just get you familiar with the mechanics of AutoCAD, have you set up for what some of the common functions that I'll be going through in this class. This will include some common errors as well as standard procedure for how to start projects in the future. When you open AutoCAD, you'll see the screen right here. So we just click Start Drawing. First of all, let's forget about drawing anything for now. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll find a series of buttons. You will become intimately familiar with these buttons. This is a major headache for people who refuse to figure out what these buttons do, and a lot of common issues come from these buttons being set up incorrectly. So as I hover over these buttons, you can see a little bit of gray text pops up. These are the shortcuts and functions that you can use if you can't find these buttons yourself. AutoCAD often has a few different ways of solving problems. If you can't find a solution, just try and be inventive. Sometimes there is a correct and incorrect solution, but there's often multiple ways to get there. The beauty of this is that if you have a better way to do something, if there's something I missed, you can leave it in the comments and I'll address it if I can. The two things I'd recommend changing is this polar tracking to be at every 15 degrees. So this snaps at every 15, 30, 45, 60. This is better than doing it at every 90 or every 45, just for the properties of this class. What this changes is you'll see here, as I go out here, this snaps here, and then again at 15, and then again at 30, and again at 45, and again at 60, 75, 90. If I were to change this to 90 degrees, which is the default, it only snaps at every 90. Now the reason for this is that every 15 degrees lets you do 30s and 45s without changing the polar snapping. It makes it a lot easier for me, but this is user preference. You can also go down to 5 or 10 degrees, but personally I just find that really annoying because you're getting a lot of input delay. Like if I'm trying to get to 45, I don't want to be snapping to 50 instead, screwing up my drawing. The other thing I'd change is these object snap settings. I would keep these like this. This is the bare bones of what you want. I like node and geometric center, but you don't need them for this. Things like nearest and tangent might come up in the future depending on what we're doing in these projects, and I'll bring them up and I'll explain how or why they're necessary. But for now, this is the bare bones. Please make sure you have midpoint. Please make sure you have intersection, and please make sure you have quadrant. Makes everything so much easier. Moving on to units. If you want to change the units in AutoCAD, you type in units. Very easy. I'm just using my keyboard. Type in units. This unit menu pops up. You'll see that you have a type in decimal and you have precision. Don't worry about that. In your insertion scale, you have inches. You can change that to anything you want: yards, light years, parsecs, millimeters. You're going to be asked in first year engineering probably to be switching between inches and millimeters. Units in AutoCAD are kind of weird. Let me show you. So if I go to inches and I draw a line that's 3 inches, I type in 3 on my number pad, I hit enter. This is 3 inches from here to here. Confirmed, right? That says 3 right there. We know it's 3. I'm going to change the units to millimeters. I'm going to type in 3. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to use that as a guide. So now I'm lining it up with here. I'm going to type in 3. You'll notice they are exactly the same length. Why is that? That's because AutoCAD changes the unit based on what the units says in the menu. Not because you're suddenly drawing in 3 millimeters. Everything that you've already drawn will be switched to 3 millimeters instead of 3 inches. So you don't need to scale anything up or down. Everything will be exactly how you expect it to be. But just be mindful of that as you're going through. You don't need to restart drawings. Let's talk about layers. Up here at the top, we have layer properties. If you click on layer properties, this will show up. By default, you'll only have one layer, which is the 0 layer. You can go new layer, and a new layer will pop up. Automatically, you'll be able to rename it. In the future, we're going to be having a couple different types of lines. We're going to have center lines. For me, I just do 3 layers and then I do my initials. That's what I learned. That's what I do. And for me, center lines are blue. Center lines have a specific line type. So we click on line type, the continuous line type. We click load. And now in this area, I'm looking for center. There's center. And if you look over here, it's got the center line type. Long, short, long, short. It says center there. I click OK. I click on center. I click OK. Now you'll see here it says center. Perfect. I have other layers. I have a hidden layer. So I would write hidden, but I just do the first 3 and I write my initials. Hidden lines for me are red. I click OK. And hidden lines have a different line type. I click on center, I click load, I go to hidden, I click OK. I click on hidden, I click OK. And now it says hidden. I also have a visible layer. Now, I know it's tempting. Oh, sorry, we call it an object layer. It's tempting to use 0 as an object layer. Please don't do that. I understand the desire to do it, but don't do that. That's gross. Visible layers have a continuous line type. For me, they're white. Some teachers will ask you to change this to be 0.4 millimeters. That's fine. I used to do that in high school because that was a requirement that my teacher asked. For this class, I'm just going to say set it to default, but you know how to change it now. So there's your center line, your hidden line, your object line. You also have your phantom lines. That'll come up in the future. For me, my phantom lines are pink, and they have the phantom line type. Scroll down to phantom with a PH. I click OK. I click on phantom. I click OK. Those are my layers. I have a feeling I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of it right now, so it must not have been important. For our first drawing, and something you're going to keep on your desktop for a while, we're just going to take our lines. We're going to draw a line that's 5 units across of every layer that we have. The purpose of doing this, I'm just going to make them one below each other. The purpose of doing this is so that we can copy paste or even insert this drawing into every drawing in the future, and our layers will come with it. So you'll always have the same layers that you're using all the time, forever and ever. You'll see they all have the same line type scale. They all look right. We're going to take this and I'm actually going to bring it to 0, 0. So I've selected this. Actually, just for habit's sake, I'm going to specify my first point. I click on line. I specify my first point. I click 0, 0. Now I'm snapped to 0, 0. Now I can use this. I'm going to bring it out to here. I'm going to take this. I've selected everything. Click on move. Click on the bottom. Now I'm moving everything based on where the bottom is. I bring it to 0, 0. I click. I get rid of that line. Now it's on 0, 0. This is just so in the future we don't have to hunt for it. And it kind of just shows up at 0, 0. We can delete it immediately. I'm going to click Save As. And And here I'm going to just type in layers. Doesn't have to be anything pretty. Save it somewhere that you know you're going to find it. In the future, when you start a new drawing, you're going to find that your layers are missing. Oh no, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, the layers are missing. Here's what we do. We go insert, we go insert, we go recent blocks. And we look here, click this button, and we look here, and we find layers. There's our layers drawing. We can open layers. Now layers is open. I click on it to start inserting it. I can insert it wherever I want because it's on 0, 0. It's 0, 0 to my mouse. So I click there. And now you'll see everything's there exactly how we expect. We go home and look at that. All our layers are there with all their layer properties. Very easy. Now because these layers aren't necessary for our drawing, I'm just going to get rid of them. But before I get rid of them, you'll notice here what's interesting about these lines. Let's say I draw in the center layer. That looks like a continuous line, and it's actually not until you pull it out really far that you see that's actually a center line. Maybe center layer was not the right thing to use. See? But when it's really small, you'll find that it just looks like a continuous line. You can tell that this was a hidden line from here. How do we change that? Well, let's say you're drawing on a really, really small scale in a different drawing, and we haven't changed any of these. What we do is we go to Properties, we click this little arrow in Properties. It brings us up. We change this line type scale. So we can see here that for this, from here to here, it shows that it's a hidden layer. We want to change this. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to change it to 0.25. That number is a multiplier. This means it's going to be a quarter of the scale of the original. So now, just as a test, we can see like that. And this is a quarter of the scale of this. Make sure that before you start drawing, you check your scales because you're going to have to do them for every layer. But you only have to do it once per drawing. Okay. Very quickly, I'm going to go through annotating. Annotating is going to come up right here. What's up?